Garrett Price sees a housekeeper chatting with VIPs and assumes she's out of line, just another overconfident cleaner needing to be put in her place. But what he doesn't know, Lena Martinez speaks 9 languages, wrote the hotel's guest experience proposal, and the board just made her his replacement. Stick around because when PriceGate explodes and the surveillance footage rolls, Garrett's Mont Blanc pen won't sign authority. It'll sign his exit. They thought she was invisible. What they didn't know was that she built the very system now pushing them out. Don't forget to drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and what time you found this video. Also hit that subscribe button. Garrett Price stood at the polished reception desk of the Grand Metropolitan, his Mont Blanc pen hovering over pristine paperwork. 15 years of maintaining strict hierarchy had taught him exactly how things should be. The familiar symphony of luxury, designer heels clicking on marble-hushed conversations about million-dollar deals, the subtle chime of crystal champagne flutes, suddenly fractured. A melodious stream of perfect French floated through the lobby, his head snapped up, jaw tightening. There stood Lena, a mere housekeeper, chatting confidently with Jean-Pierre Beaumont, one of their most prestigious guests. The pen in Garrett Price's grip creaked under pressure. "Madame, votre français est impeccable." Beaumont's delighted voice carried across the lobby. Phones emerged from expensive purses and tailored suits recording this unprecedented scene. Garrett Price's carefully controlled world began to wobble on its axis. "That's quite enough," his voice cut through the murmuring crowd. Garrett Price strode forward each step, a declaration of authority. He seized Lena's arm, steering her away from the VIP guest. "My office, now." The lobby fell silent, except for the sharp tap of his Italian leather shoes. A young influencer's phone tracked their movement, her perfectly manicured fingers already typing what would become Chubant or Hotel Gate. "Let me remind you of your position." Garrett Price hissed, fingers drumming against his prized Mont Blanc. "Housekeepers don't engage with guests. They certainly don't show off in languages they have no business knowing. This isn't some quaint bed and breakfast where staff play pretend at sophistication." But something in Lena's steady gaze unsettled him. No fear, no submission, just calm certainty that made his hand tremble slightly as he reached for his phone. "Mr. Price." A crisp voice interrupted. "The board requires Ms. Martinez's presence. They're quite impressed with her international hospitality program proposal." The Mont Blanc pen slipped from his fingers, clattering against the desk. Board member proposal. His territory was being invaded. His control challenged. Type "control" in the comments if you've ever watched someone's power start to crumble. Alone in his office later, Garrett Price polished his Mont Blanc pen with trembling fingers. 15 years of carefully maintained order threatened by one multilingual housekeeper. His reflection in the window showed a man whose kingdom suddenly felt less secure. "I learned early that power means keeping others in their place," he whispered to his reflection. "My father ran his company the same way, strict hierarchies, clear boundaries. But now—" He watched a notification pop up on his phone, Archik Hotel Gate starting to trend. "Now everything I've built needs defending, and defend it I will." Have you ever felt your carefully constructed world start to shake? What would you do to keep your power? The next 24 hours would answer that question for Garrett Price, and nothing at the Grand Metropolitan would ever be the same. The Mont Blanc pen gleamed in his hand like a weapon. But for the first time in 15 years, Garrett Price wasn't entirely sure he knew how to wield it. Garrett Price drummed his Mont Blanc pen against the mahogany desk, the rhythmic tapping echoing through his corner office at the Grand Valencia Hotel. 9 languages. The personnel file before him confirmed what he desperately hoped was a mistake. Lena Martinez wasn't just another disposable housekeeper. She was dangerously competent. "Sir, the guest satisfaction scores from Ms. Martinez's floor are consistently higher than any other section." His assistant's voice crackled through the intercom, each word landing like acid on his carefully constructed worldview. Garrett silenced the intercom with a savage jab, his reflection in the window revealing a slight tremor in his normally steady hand. The surveillance footage played on his monitor, Lena effortlessly switching between Mandarin and Arabic, with guests earning those genuine smiles that had always eluded him, despite his Harvard degree and tailored suits. His pen dug deeper into the notepad, nearly tearing through the paper. Started as a night cleaner, self-taught, raising 2 brothers alone. Each achievement felt like a personal assault on everything he'd built. A memory surfaced, his mentor Theodore Maxwell standing in this very office 15 years ago. Remember, Garrett, people like us maintain standards. We don't just let anyone rise above their station. The words that once brought comfort now carried a hollow ring, like a bell cracking mid-toll. The security feed showed Lena teaching a junior staff member proper etiquette for VIP guests. Her confidence, her natural leadership. It was everything he'd claimed her kind lacked. His carefully crafted reports justifying passed-over promotions suddenly felt flimsy, like paper towers in a storm. A notification pinged, Employee Recognition Committee. Unanimous nomination Lena Martinez for assistant manager position. Garrett's chest tightened. He'd blocked 3 previous advancement attempts, but this time was different. Too many witnesses, too much documentation, too much evidence of his systematic suppression. His fingers traced the golden executive director nameplate on his desk, his talisman of power earned through years of maintaining standards. But now, with each new revelation about Lena's capabilities, the metal felt colder, heavier, tainted. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across his office as he pulled up the employee complaint database. His blood ran cold. 27 similar cases over the past decade, all qualified multilingual staff, all systematically held back, all bearing his signature of denial. A pattern even a first-year HR rep could spot. Have you ensured everything is properly documented? Maxwell's voice echoed from the past. But Garrett Price had done more than document. He'd created a paper trail of his own prejudice, each denial wrapped in increasingly transparent excuses. His phone buzzed, Corporate HR audit, next week. The timing couldn't be worse. The walls of his office, once a fortress of authority, seemed to close in. Each security camera felt like an accusing eye, recording his mounting panic. Type truth hurts if you've ever discovered your biases were built on lies. Through the glass walls, he watched Lena handle a complex situation with a frustrated guest turning conflict into connection. Her competence was no longer just irritating, it was terrifying. Because in her excellence, Garrett Price saw the reflection of his own mediocrity protected all these years by nothing but prejudice and power. The Mont Blanc pen. A graduation gift from Maxwell slipped from his trembling fingers. As it rolled across the desk, each click against the wood sounded like a countdown to his inevitable exposure. The luxury pen had once symbolized his arrival in the executive class. Now it felt like evidence of a system that had promoted privilege over merit. His computer chimed again, 3 more department heads adding their signatures to Lena's nomination. The very infrastructure he'd built to maintain control was turning against him, revealing truth through 1,000 tiny cracks in his carefully constructed facade. In the growing darkness of his office, Garrett Price faced an impossible choice: continue fighting a battle that would expose everything, or step aside and watch his carefully maintained hierarchy crumble. Either way, his own actions had built the cage now closing around him. The nameplate caught the last ray of sunlight, throwing accusations in golden reflections across his face. Every denial, every blocked promotion, every maintenance of standards. They weren't protection of excellence as he'd claimed. They were fear, pure and simple, of people who proved his prejudices wrong. And now that fear had left a trail that would lead directly to his door. Garrett Price stares at his reflection in the polished elevator doors, adjusting his tie with trembling fingers. The whispers he so carefully planted about Lena Martinez's communication issues have somehow mutated, transforming into praise for her multilingual abilities. His expensive pen, the symbol of his authority to sign off on promotions and terminations, weighs like lead in his breast pocket. The gleaming elevator opens to chaos in the grand ballroom foyer. A group of agitated Chinese businessmen gestures frantically, while a flustered junior manager stammers helplessly. Then Martinez appears, gliding forward with practiced grace. Price's stomach churns as she seamlessly switches between Mandarin and English, dissolving the tension with each perfectly pronounced word. Extraordinary diplomatic skills. Price overhears a board member murmur, "Exactly what we need for our Asian expansion." The comment strikes him like a physical blow. He'd specifically cited cultural barriers in his latest report questioning Martinez's suitability for advancement. His phone buzzes, another email from HR requesting clarification about his previous complaints regarding Martinez. They're using words like pattern and concerning discrepancies. Price's collar feels suddenly tight as he realizes his carefully constructed paper trail is unraveling. In the staff break room, conversations halt when he enters. Junior employees who once laughed at his jokes now avert their eyes. His assistant Thomas, who previously helped compile the evidence against Martinez, has requested a transfer to another department. "Sir," Thomas whispers, catching him alone, "the video from last week's incident, it's circulating on social media. The price of prejudice is trending." Price's hands grow clammy as he checks his phone. There it is, security footage showing him deliberately excluding Martinez from a crucial client meeting, while the subtitle overlay reveals her superior qualifications for handling the account. The pen in his pocket seems to burn now. Price retreats to his office, hands shaking as he pulls up his personnel files. Years of carefully documented concerns about various minority employees swim before his eyes. Had he really been so blatant, so careless in leaving a trail? A knock at his door makes him jump. "Mr. Price," it's Martinez herself holding a folder. "The board requested my proposal for improving international guest relations. They'd like your signature by end of day." Her calm professionalism feels like an accusation. Price fumbles with his pen, his precious Mont Blanc awarded for 15 years of service. The cap falls rolling under his desk. As he bends to retrieve it, he notices Martinez's reflection in the window. She stands tall, confident, completely unfazed by his obvious discomfort. When did she become so formidable? Have you ever watched your carefully constructed walls crumble around you? Drop A in the comments if you've seen karma in action. His phone won't stop buzzing now. Social media notifications, emails from the board, messages from colleagues suddenly remembering other incidents they'd witnessed. Price's empire of influence is dissolving like sand through his fingers. The pen's weight in his pocket has become unbearable. Each time he reaches for it to sign another document, he sees his own signature on all those damaging reports, each one now a nail in his professional coffin. The very tool he used to try to hold others down is becoming the instrument of his own undoing. As the afternoon sun casts long shadows across his office, Garrett Price finally confronts the truth in his reflection. He's become the liability he always accused others of being. The whispers in the hallway are about him now, and no amount of carefully worded reports can change that reality. Every muscle in my body tenses as I, Garrett Price, Senior Executive of Operations at the Grand Plaza Hotel, push through the heavy mahogany doors of the executive boardroom. Today's board meeting will be my masterpiece, the final nail in Lena Martinez's coffin. The Mont Blanc pen in my breast pocket feels like a weapon, its weight reassuring against my racing heart. I've orchestrated everything perfectly. The doctored performance reports are loaded on my laptop, ready to destroy her credibility just before her big presentation. The timing couldn't be better. The entire board gathered to witness her humiliation. My fingers traced the pen's smooth surface, remembering how I used it to sign countless memos questioning her competence. The security camera's red lights blink silently overhead as I move through the empty boardroom. I don't give them a second thought. I've done this dance before, haven't I? Always careful, always calculated. I approach the podium where she'll stand, my shoes clicking against the marble floor with each step. The sound echoes off the walls, somehow louder than usual. My hands shake slightly as I reach for her presentation materials. Just a few strategic alterations, that's all it will take. The Mont Blanc pen gleams as I pull it out, its gold trim catching the morning light. But something's different today. My usually steady grip feels uncertain. A notification buzzes on my phone. My blood runs cold as I see the headline, "Exclusive Hotel Executives Discrimination Exposed PriceGate." The phone slips from my grasp, clattering against the podium. The sound seems to reverberate forever. Looking for something, Mr. Price, I whirl around to find our head of security standing in the doorway, tablet in hand. The security feed plays on the screen, every previous instance of my interference captured in pristine high definition. The Mont Blanc pen slips from my fingers, striking the floor with a damning click. The sound of that impact will haunt my nightmares forever. The board is waiting in conference room B. He continues, his voice steady, along with Ms. Martinez and our legal team. My empire crumbles in real time. As I'm escorted through the lobby, smartphones emerge from every corner. Your PriceGate is trending nationwide, my face plastered across social media. My phone won't stop buzzing with notifications. The click of the conference room door closing behind me sounds like a jail cell. The board members' faces are masks of disappointment and disgust. And there stands Lena Martinez, poised and professional, holding a thick folder of evidence I never knew she was collecting. Mr. Price. Our CEO's voice cuts through the silence. Would you care to explain why our head of housekeeping has documented proof of systematic discrimination and sabotage spanning the past 6 months? Drop 1 if you've ever witnessed karma in action. My mouth opens, but no words come out. On the conference room's display screen, security footage plays in a damning loop. Every accidental coffee spill on her reports, every whispered conversation with staff to undermine her authority, every late-night visit to tamper with her work. The Mont Blanc pen lies abandoned in the boardroom, a symbol of my arrogance now transformed into evidence of my downfall. As hotel security escorts me from the premises, my employee badge is confiscated. The final indignity watching Lena Martinez step into my former office, her head held high. My phone buzzes one last time. My termination notice effective immediately. Outside news vans are already gathering. Your PriceGate has become Ontos Price Falls, and my career is ending in a viral moment of justice. Share this story if you believe karma always collects its debt. The security guard who walks me out is one I've passed 1,000 times without a glance. "You know, Mr. Price," he says quietly, "Ms. Martinez started as a housekeeper on my shift. She learned English while cleaning rooms, earned her business degree at night. But I guess you never bothered to learn that part of her story." The golden revolving doors of the Grand Plaza Hotel spin behind me, and I, Garrett Price, exit for the last time, my reflection fractured in the glass, just like my reputation. Garrett Price stared at the gleaming Mont Blanc pen on his mahogany desk, the symbol of authority that had once made subordinates tremble, now nothing more than an expensive reminder of his hubris. The morning sun, streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his soon-to-be former office, felt harsh and accusatory, unlike the warm glow that had previously made him feel like a king surveying his domain. The cardboard box before him echoed hollowly as he dropped in his business awards, each clink a testament to achievements now tarnished by his exposed discrimination. His hands trembled slightly as he lifted the frame containing his hospitality management certification. The very credentials he'd wielded against Lena Martinez, claiming they made him inherently superior. "Mr. Price," his assistant's voice wavered at the doorway. "The board requests your presence for the final statement." The word "final" sent a chill down Garrett Price's spine. 24 hours ago, he'd been orchestrating what he thought would be Lena's removal. Now security waited to escort him from the building he'd considered his fortress. Walking into the boardroom, Garrett Price faced the cameras live streaming his public apology. Price falls had been trending for hours, with millions watching his empire crumble. The Mont Blanc pen felt leaden in his pocket as he approached the podium. "I stand before you today not as a senior executive, but as someone who failed to understand a fundamental truth." His voice cracked. "My position didn't give me the right to diminish others. When Lena Martinez proved her capabilities despite my systematic attempts to undermine her, I didn't see excellence. I saw a threat to my controlled world." The pen slipped from his fingers, clattering against the podium. The sound echoed through the silent room, a perfect metaphor for his shattered authority. "My resistance to change became my greatest failure." While I focused on maintaining hierarchies, Ms. Martinez focused on excellence. She didn't just survive my discrimination, she exposed its hollowness. The real measure of leadership isn't in maintaining power. It's in recognizing and nurturing talent regardless of its source. Share this moment if you believe talent should speak louder than prejudice. Behind him, the screen displayed his years of discriminatory emails, the systematic pattern of blocking promotions for multilingual staff, the carefully documented evidence that had led to this moment. Each pixel seemed to burn with his shame. Garrett Price watched as his Mont Blanc pen was placed in the hotel's newly established Wall of Change display, alongside documents detailing the revised promotion policies he'd fought so hard against. The exhibit would stand as a permanent reminder that discrimination, no matter how cleverly disguised, ultimately destroys its perpetrator. The leadership program will now actively recruit multilingual staff, Board Chair Thompson announced, with Lena Martinez heading the initiative. Type change if you believe every workplace deserves equal opportunity. In his final moments in the building, Garrett Price stood before the wall-length mirror in the lobby, the same mirror where he'd once straightened his tie while ignoring Lena's suggestions for improving guest services. His reflection showed not the powerful executive he'd imagined himself to be, but a man humbled by his own prejudices. The click of his access card being deactivated echoed with finality. As security escorted him out, Garrett Price realized that his greatest failure hadn't been losing his position. It had been failing to recognize that true leadership means lifting others up, not pushing them down. His legacy would not be the executive who maintained the old guard, but the cautionary tale that helped transform it. The Mont Blanc pen in the display case would remind future leaders that power without wisdom and inclusion is nothing but decorated prejudice. Walking away from the hotel for the last time, Garrett Price understood with crushing clarity his resistance to change hadn't protected his position. It had revealed its unworthiness. In trying to dim Lena Martinez's light, he had only succeeded in extinguishing his own.